So how do you envision the future in the use of AI in publication,
Yeah, really good question.
in publicizing?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think the question that I don't yet have the answer to is, well, what happens when you can build out algorithms that can kind of run and process the data themselves and come up and also cross-pollinate between different research, right? Like right now, the kind of classic traditional way that research is undertaken is you have to do a literature review, and you try to read as much as you can in the field and see where, what has been studied, what hasn't. Well, what happens when AI can kind of do all that stuff, for you and learn new things from, kind of articles speaking to each other, so to speak, right? Or research. And then the kind of possibilities become infinite. But also what happens when you can create, so that's kind of what excites me. But as on the flip side, what are called paper mills. And paper mills, where this has been particularly prominent in China, these are basically, false papers that are totally made up, but they feel real, right? Because they're like, they can just kind of make up.
Are so convincing.
Sorry. It's scary.
They're so convincing.
They're so convincing. And there are, without getting into the boring kind of industry, there are business incentives now to promote quantity and to try and get as much out there. And the number one struggle happening in our industry right now, for those who are interested, is this kind of, how do we balance between the financial incentives of trying to get as much research out there as possible, and also let's open the doors to researchers around the world. There's no reason we should be, it's a global world and anyone can publish from their desktop, on the one hand. On the other hand, how do we review and make sure that what we're getting is solid and real? And right now, that's a very human kind of driven process. There's this peer review process where people will, look over other research, but the same way you can pass off writing as non-human, the question is, can you pass off AI research as real when it's not? And being able to kind of vet that out is going to be the number one thing, because if we don't do that, just understand the ramifications, if we aren't successful, we basically lose what is fact in this world, what is truth. Because I think that, at least in my opinion, science is the closest we can come to saying this is a fact, this is not, right? I'm going to get in this car because it has been scientifically tested that it's not going to give out on me. The brakes are going to work, right? But what happens when we can't make those distinctions anymore?